going on, family? It's your brother Lawrence here with another episode of Watch God Work. In every episode, we get the distinct pleasure to interview brothers and sisters who are doing exceptional work in every field of human endeavor: business, art, music, sports, civic leadership, and the like. And they get to share their God stories, the ways in which God has been a part of their life, and the way that God's hand has been all part of their work. And today, I'm excited about our brother, my brother, son of the King, my brother Amadeus. What's going on, brother? What's going on?
Man, my brother, what an amazing introduction. I'm blessed. I'm grateful. I'm honored to be here, and looking forward to this amazing conversation, my brother. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you. How you doing today, King?
Man, I'm grateful, and I'm that much better, man, having this conversation now. It's funny when depending on the industry that I'm talking to and the type of work, I kind of approach it slightly differently. And what's interesting is that we come from an industry that has brothers like Sway in the Universe, who
Right.
I think there is no introduction that can really follow Sway. So I ain't gonna do that. What I am gonna say is that culture, the things have moved our culture, the music, the sounds. And I'm talking about just not 5 years, 6 years, 7 years span. I'm talking about over 2 decades of
Yes, sir.
music that have been seminal in black culture, but beyond black culture. From the music in the club, music in the car, to the turn on the sports show you got your first take on and you're listening to things. We have
Man,
danced and moved to the sounds of my brother's gift. And so I can't say it better than you could say it. So I want to take it back, brother. Who is Amadeus, brother?
man, Amadeus. First off, the name means loves God.
Mm.
Um, a son, a brother, a nephew, a cousin, a father, um, a king,
Mm.
a black king, a black Bronx king, an individual that loves people, the individual that loves and is passionate about music, a person that believed in his dreams
Mm.
and worked and worked and worked, and worked as hard as I possibly can to live those dreams and for those dreams to become my reality.
Mm.
A person that really thought far fetched, right, but believed everything I thought. A person that wouldn't accept no for an answer. A person that took doubt, no, negative energy, disbelief, and turned that into fuel for my fire and motivation for me to go after what it is that I felt I was called to do here in life. So that's Amadeus. Besides the musician, besides the record producer, besides the guy that's on the big screen, or this, besides the person that people look to for inspiration and motivation. That's also who Amadeus is, a class clown. You know what I mean? Clown, and I mean that in the most respectful way. I just love attention. I love to make people laugh. I love to host people. I love to give people create a great atmosphere and environment for people to have a great time. And I love to push people. I feel like we all have our dreams, and those dreams are not just for us to get through and by the night, but those are our visions. That's vision for our life,
Mm.
and the life that we are supposed to be living, the life that we're most passionate about,
Mm.
not the life that we're accepting, or not the life that others feel we should be living, like our parents, like your uncle that say, I want you to be a doctor, your cousin that say, I want you to be a nurse. What is God speaking to you? What is He saying to you
Mm.
in regards to what you love and what you're most passionate in life? So that's who Amadeus is.
Mm.
And I know I've kind of went off in a little tangent there,
Nah,
but
nah, this was perfect.
that's who Amadeus is.
Now this is perfect, man, and this is perfect because I want people to hear all that, right? Because that we
Right.
haven't even scratched the surface, but it's all those things and more, right? And so I think when people hear stories of brothers and sisters, where sometimes I think people view the church like the yellow brick road. It's like the basketball players that go down and see Olajuwon over the summer to kind of get the get the dream shake together. It's
Right.
the view of like, oh yeah, Whitney was in the church, oh yeah, Fantasia was in the church, and such was in the
Mhm.
church, and but for you, you really came up in that. You came up in that. Your
Absolutely.
love for sounds, for beat, the call and response, all of that would originate. So take us back to the Bronx. Take us back to kind of them Sundays or probably Wednesdays, or that, like, how, what was the genesis of you getting a sense that, there may be something divine in this. There may be something for me in these sounds and in music.
Right. And my parents are amazing. So shout out to my mom and dad, because prior to even me getting into church,
Mm,
um, they sent me to Catholic school.
mm,
So whether I wanted to or not, it was like, oh no, you're gonna know God. You're gonna learn about God. And whether I wanted to or not, it was a part of my education. You know what I mean? We had religion class, and they taught us how to carry ourselves and how to properly carry ourselves, how to properly dress. When you go to Catholic school, you have to wear a shirt, for the fellas, slacks, a dress shirt, a tie, and a sweater. And that was our uniform every day. So I didn't know anything about the sagging of my pants. I didn't know anything about baggy jeans. I didn't know anything about, what J's came out last Friday or what kicks to wear. And I'm matching clothes.
mm,
I wore the same thing every day. So my level of focus was on point, because it allowed me to focus on what was necessary, allowed me to focus on my education,
mm,
and allowed me to focus on God, whether I wanted to or not.
mm.
Now, for me to pass that religion class, which was a very important class, I had to know what was going on. I had to study. I couldn't just hear it in one ear and let it go out the other. I had to really take the stuff in. So that's first, and that's kind of where it started for me as a musician.
Mm,
In fourth grade, picked up the drumstick for the first time ever. Never really had any dreams or aspirations for musicianship. I just loved music and I loved hip hop.
mm,
And then in that school, it was kind of a forced thing where you're going to learn an instrument. Pick one, figure it out, and that's what you'll be learning. And I chose percussion because I was absent on a day where we was to choose a musical instrument. So I really wanted to learn the trumpet or the saxophone,
mm.
but these spots for those instruments were taken. The next day when I show up, there's only two slots left for these two instruments, and that one was violin, one was percussion. Now, again, as you mentioned, me being from the Bronx, me being from the hood, from the projects, already having a dress up, already being a target, and I know you know what I mean when I say that.
Mhm.
I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna add to that target and add a violin case with me walking through the hood dressed up with a violin case. We're not gonna do that. So I chose percussion. I didn't even know what percussion meant. I just wasn't going to choose the violin. And there's no disrespect to any violinist. There's no
You
disrespect
got one
to,
here, brother. You got one here,
you
bro.
see, you see, no disrespect whatsoever. But for me and my environment, I had to, how they say, make sure you protect yourself. I had to think street smart right there
Mm,
and protect myself. So
mm.
again, much love and respect to all violinists. I love every single one of you. As you can see, my name is Amadeus, so I do have a love and
Mozart, yeah, I
respect
mean.
for the violin culture. But I chose drums.
Mm,
Fast forward, walking into the classroom, picked up the drumsticks, played the grooves, and it was just like, yo, you never touched drums ever? And I'm like, dude. And it was just a thing that just happened. And in that moment, I knew who God was. I know what, who he was. I wasn't as spiritually matured as I am today, of course,
mm,
but I knew enough to know that that was a God given gift.
mm,
So fast forward, my mother changed churches, took me to a different church, a Pentecostal church
mm,
that was more alive, that was more vibrant, that had a lot of young people, that had a live band. The Baptist church that I grew up in, was real relaxed, real calm. I fell asleep every Sunday, but when I went to this church, it was like, yo, this is lit. And the music, I ain't gonna lie, the music and the girls, which what got my attention. And
mm.
and and when it was time to get up on Sundays and go to church, it wasn't a come on now. I was up. I was ready. I was ready. I was ready for I was ready for the day, bro. You ain't got to. She had never had to ask me twice. And but that when I walked in those doors, and at the time it was called Faith Temple Church of the Living God.
Mm,
It's now called Cathedral at Greater Faith.
mhm,
But when I walked through those doors and I seen a black king that looked like me, that resembled me, that played the drums the way he played, it was epic. Because you got to think in school they were showing us and teaching us drums and from a jazz standpoint,
mm,
and the jazz drummers were incredible, but they never really showed me any drummers that looked like me.
mm,
So it was my first time of me seeing a brother playing and sounding amazing, and that's when the love and the passion hit. I was probably about 13 or 14 years old. That's when it hit me like, yo, okay, he's black, he sounds amazing, I'm sure he's from the hood too, but if I apply myself and I hustle and I work hard and I do the right thing, I could sound like that one day. And that's when it really hit me. And I'm not going to jump the gun. I'm going to stay right
mhm,
there. But that's when it really hit me. And it really resonated with me to really take the drums and the music and that craft seriously.
mm. Fam, This is I love this. One is just the sense of just a genuine, pure-hearted joy for what you were experiencing and observing, right? So in that
Right.
environment, taking it in where it was in the Baptist church and enjoying it, and it seems like there's stages, but it was pure-hearted. It was just like I didn't see it down the line.
Yes.
I just really love what I'm enjoying and getting to participate in. Yet there also was some outside affirmation too by someone saying, "Yo, how long you do this?" It's like, "Nah, I just picked it up," and then being able
Right.
to appreciate the music in that context, because I always say this just from you understand from a music standpoint a lot more detail than I ever can, but
Copy.
sometimes there's this view that the classically trained is somehow a lot more skilled, right? So then if I,
Right.
if I'm staying in my 10 and 2 with my instrument in school, that person's more classically trained, and oftentimes there's this general lens on the church or just the expressive, charismatic,
Yes.
expressive, like that's less skill, that's all emotion. And it's like, nah, nah, fam. To be able to do that. So I just appreciate just the affirmation and the gravity of the skill that you're witnessing and how that set a fire in you. I think naturally the question for me then becomes, man, from this place of now you seeing the passion, now they're thinking of like, how does this now young brother 13, 14, now he's picking this up, now he's picking up his chops, he's killing that.
Right.
Where does the bridge to kind of like, I call it like this kind of this zone era of when did the hitmen
Mm.
come in, when does that happen, when is that bridge? Yeah, I mean, talk us through how that day happened when you're like, all right, I'm gonna bring this outside, or was it, did you even think of it like that to say, all right, I'm gonna take this skill and I have no bounds with my music, or was it like a wrestle?
No, when I really developed that love and passion for the musicianship side of it, was when the dream started really flowing.
Mm,
Like me envisioning myself performing in front of huge audiences. Me being from New York, of course, saying, okay, well, the biggest venue that I know is Madison Square Garden. You know what I mean? And I know my mom was big into music and big into concerts, and I know she would always talk about the Meadowlands. Now, I know the Meadowlands,
mm,
stopped existing for a long time and I guess changed into something else. But I remember these stadiums. Because I used to watch this stuff. Like I was a really huge Michael Jackson fan, MC Hammer. Like so I used to watch the behind the scenes, a Too Legit to Quit movie. Like so I knew and recognized what it looked like when you were professional and when you were successful as a professional.
mm,
So I started having those dreams. And with me loving hip hop, it just kind of started to merge all in one, and it really makes sense to me because I'm like, okay, well, I love hip hop, I love beats. Because if you would have asked me right now to recite a lyric, I really can't.
mm,
But if you say, yo, what does that song sound like? I can paint the picture for you. And that would just, and I'm saying that to say it was always, I love lyrics, I love songs, don't get me wrong, but it was always the rhythm and the music and the track that got my attention, that I really gravitated towards. So,
mm,
me being a drummer and really starting to understand the sonics, to understand music, and the theory of it, and it's like, yo, what if I started making beats?
mm,
I love hip hop already. I'm already a drummer, so I kind of have a cheat code in a sense when it comes to that. I have the edge, the upper hand. Why not just merge the two? So when you start talking about the Hitman, I love and still to this day Puff Daddy.
mm,
Like everything he represented, from the music to the swag to the style to all of the amazing artists that he's blessed us with and given us with musically. Biggie, Faith Evans, 112, you know what I'm saying? Total, like Mace, like all of those artists, and I just wanted to be like him. I wanted to create that type of epic music. Dr. Dre,
mm,
you know, uh, the Neptunes and Rodney Jerkins. Rodney Jerkins being from the church,
mm,
being a pastor's son, he had a different ear to it. He had a different approach to everything because he approached it from a church and a real musical church background. So it's a different style, a different vibe. Timberland, Swiss Beats. So the Hitman was like was a dream for me, and I just kind of worked and worked and worked and worked towards it, and it was like something that I felt deep down inside one day I would accomplish. So the Hitman kind of came in, I want to say, not halfway through my career, but I was kind of already
mm,
established as a producer. My name and brand was out there. I had already produced, believe it or not, for 50 artists already before I had really got into Puff's door, and that opportunity became an opportunity for me. You know what I mean?
mm.
So I love that you bring that up because it was a dream come true, and it's a great story in regards to like me living that truth. You know what I mean?
Mm. bro. I appreciate that, but also how you kind of thought about the connection and the merging of just these pieces and saying like, I love, again, both love is the consistent theme. Yo, I love this. I love this.
Hmm.
How do I play? You, I would be curious to hear, bro, for you, what did you see even early on the role of music in the world? Because one thing that's pretty consistent in your story is this view of this global lens. You have a
Yeah.
global lens. It's not a I'm in Bronx, I want to go around the world, but you've always had a global lens. And then when you use the word about this, the sonically, the things, the different types of sounds and things you hear, what did you sense the role of music like to God was in the world early on, right? How did that evolve? Like, okay, yo, I think God uses music to do this. And then two,
Right.
how did that inform this global lens that I think is uniquely distinct? Because you always hear about artists and producers going to other countries like a sabbatical, like, yo, I need to hear some sounds.
Right.
I need to hear something different sonically. I need to go in these clubs. So those two
Right.
pieces be my question for you, bro.
Right. I think to me, I felt like music was always expression,
Mm.
right? And it was a person or an artist telling their story, as you say, as you phrase it, which I love, through their lens.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, when my dad and mom used to frown upon the music I listened to because of the profanity, the curses, they would say the cuss words, being that they were very spiritual individuals, they would hate that part and,
Mm.
and wouldn't want me to listen because of that, and they wouldn't want that to kind of to come off on me
Mm.
and me being inspired by that and send me down the wrong path and then in the wrong direction,
Mm.
but I always looked at as people expressing themselves. So to me, it was like an escape, and as a young child, I can't really say, and I don't say that from a negative lens.
Mm.
Like I don't say it was an escape, like I'm trying to get away from something. It was just like, yo, when I hear this, or when I turn this on, it just takes me to a realm. It just takes me to a place where I'm all in, and my energy, and I'm super in tuned to what I'm hearing musically, whether it's the lyrics, whether it's the music, whether it's the drums, the keyboards, the bass. It's something is grabbing my attention, and it's keeping my full attention. And regardless of what's happening around me, I'm not distracted
Mm.
whatsoever when I'm listening. So that's to me what it gave me. Now my lens, it's really hard to say where that come from, because you got to think everybody that I listened to growing up were somewhat local.
Mm.
You know, I listened to KRS-One. KRS-One was from the Bronx. Naughty by Nature. I didn't know back then, but I know now. Naughty by Nature was from Jersey.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang was from Staten Island. LL Cool J. LL Cool J was from Queens. You know what I'm saying? Big from Brooklyn. So like Nas is from Queens. Mobb Deep from Queens. So everybody was in their different places. So what? But it was all New York. In New York and New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? And at that time, I didn't really listen to anybody to me that was from out of town or out of state. I was just on what was presented to me at that time, what was being played on the radio at that time.
Mm.
So honestly, and when you think about videos, a lot of the videos were local too. You did have some people that were big spenders that might have changed the environment of the video and shot it in Miami
Mm.
or shot it somewhere, and it just kind of created this picture like, yo, there's somewhere else you can go in the world that has these type of trees that don't exist in the Bronx.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So I can't really, and I love this question, but I'm trying to really pinpoint what it was that made me more global, or wanted to travel. I really don't know. That's like I would have to like explore that internally to
Mm.
figure out where did that come from.
Mm.
I know I wanted to do music. I know I wanted to create music. I know I wanted to play in the arena in New York, but I didn't know the traveling aspect. I didn't really know the worldwide. Like I didn't know hip hop was in overseas until I went out there on tour with Trey Songz, and it's like, yo, we're in Japan. They don't speak English, but they're singing every song, every word to say "ya"
Mm.
right now as we're performing this. Like, wow, I didn't know that existed. And the more I traveled, the more you were able to educate yourself and experience how big music is, and the fact that it's global and it's all around the world.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, this is. I think I'm going to let that question sit, man, because I'm so curious about how you would respond to that when when God would press you. I want to talk about connection then, because I
Mm,
think to this the extent that you've gone around the world, music has taken you around the world, and I think people talk about music like sports, that music connects us. But it seems like that, I used to tell people similarly back in the day. I just remember like the MJ concerts on Channel 7. Like it
right,
was an event. You know what I mean? The people, the
right,
women all, losing their minds and passing out in the front, Dirty Diana, all that stuff, right?
right.
But it seems like while music from technology has pushed, has reached around the world, in some sense, it seems like it's become more of this very much a insular me to music as opposed to this global thing. Partly because of the pandemic, people can't be in the same place, but it just
Right.
seems like that view of the community aspect of it has been challenged over the past year. When I think
I
about
agree.
connecting, I also just think about this other piece for you around then how do you stay connected even in the process of creating music? What I mean by that is
Mm,
I think a lot of times people think beautiful mind. Like I have to be like when people think about Prince, who played so many instruments, who like
right.
it's like these people live in their minds. How do you stay connected to people? How do you stay connected to the heartbeat while at the same time still staying monomaniacal and clear enough to be able to create something clear and good for the masses? Like how do you navigate that tension from a spiritual level?
That's really dope. That's a really dope question. I think so. For me, creatively, I've always created from within,
Mm,
right? So, and it's kind of a challenge, right? And I don't challenge how I don't question how I would create. Let me phrase that. But it is different because when you think about a lot of other producers that may be successful or have a greater level of success, right? I'm not sure if they're creating in the same manner, if they're creating the same way, because it may be creating within the time or creating with whatever sound is hot at that moment. You know what I'm saying? So you win because it's like, okay, well, I know the people want this right now. They like that last song that I produced for such and such. So I'm going to create 10 of those, so that it works. So that, and I've never really created based off of it working. I created based off of what I feel inside. So if I'm happy, if I'm having a great day, you're gonna hear it in the music. You're gonna hear that energy in the music. You're gonna hear that happiness. The melody's gonna feel happy. If I'm pissed, you're gonna get that dark. You're gonna get something for for Jay Z. You're gonna get something for Busta Rhymes. You can get something for Jeezy, Ti. If I'm feeling sexy and I got candles lit, you know what I mean. I got the lights dim. You might get a Trey Songz, Chris Brown, Justin Bieber record. So I've always created that way, and I think the connection, and I feel like instead of just giving the people what I think they want,
mm,
I give the people what I love.
mm,
If you happen to love it and like it, great. But just know if I'm sharing this with you and I'm sharing this with the world, it's because I love it.
mm,
I'm not going to just give you anything because it works or I feel like radio is going to eat it all up or the people is going to, oh, yeah, they're going to love this. They're going to dance hard to this. I've never created on that level because a lot of records that I've made or tracks that I've made that I may feel is the best for artists, those aren't the tracks that those artists chose. You know what I'm saying? And it's,
mm.
you, you chose that. And I'm like, what? Like, because you just never know what'll resonate with someone or what they would feel. And in regards to just like you said, the connection and just, I think I'm kind of a people person, but not.
Mm,
If you meet me or if we see each other or we're in passing or we're in the club or, at a venue, I'm definitely humble always. I'm always a nice guy. I'm always respectable, presentable, right? And that's just me. But I'm also okay with being alone.
mm,
You know what I mean? And if I had to choose which two would I prefer, it would probably would be, me alone.
mm,
And that just comes from me loving oneself and me loving me and me being comfortable within my skin, and able to just be with me without anything on the surface or the accolades or jewelry or you know what I mean. Like I would say, like and I know I'm kind of going to bear with
Oh
me,
no, no,
but
you rocking, good brother.
like during this whole pandemic, people be doing interviews and being on TV and doing lives and virtual with all their jewelry on. It's like I'm in the house, bro. like I'm in a house. I don't. If I'm in a house, I don't wear a watch. And when I'm in a house, I don't wear like chains and anything when I'm in the house. And don't shots to anybody else. But it's just like when you love you, You don't need all of those different things. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? I went months because I didn't understand the pandemic at the beginning last year. I went months without a haircut, without a hairline, without a shape up. And I was like, looking at pictures and videos, bro, like, dude, you looked terrible. In that moment, I didn't. I love me. I didn't care. Like, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, I want to save my life. I don't want to be trying to go get haircuts, risking it all just to look a certain kind of way. I love me, and I
Mhm.
think that that's very important. So that's kind of how I feel I connect, with the audience and the people in the world, through music.
Brother man, I think this is a word, and I'm gonna go a bit deeper with this because I think the aspect of connection I think has been very has been DNA all throughout your career. I was even reading at the time that you've been to so many schools: Berkeley School of Music,
Yeah.
Xavier, New Orleans, Xavier. That, I mean, these are the spots that I used to
Yeah.
frequent, and you give, you give,
Yes, sir.
you give, and it's a clear. But I'm always curious about this question, which is just like, when did God have to save you again? Here's what I mean by that. Meaning there's a difference.
Mm,
It's where not so much that, you baptized, but one of you where you just said like, yo, like I recognize I need God every day. And when people
mhm.
see the success, I think we sometimes forget that you're a human being. And where have
Right.
you had to lean on God in this, and as you've been on this crescendo, so to speak, of success all around the world? Where did God have to become real again for you? Like, I'm not saying He's
Mm,
never not been real, or that's ever
right.
tapered off, but
Right.
just when did He be like, "Yo, Lord, you need to save me again"?
Right. I think it's kind of an ongoing battle,
Mm,
to be honest, because one thing about success is that when you achieve it, it feels amazing, and because it's what you worked so hard for.
mm,
Um, but when you achieve it, it's different. It really gets different because everything changes.
mm,
You know, um, especially the people that are around you or the people that you want to surround you.
mm,
And that's why when I spoke on being okay with being alone, like that's a real thing. Like, I'm not just gonna have people just to have people around. I'm not gonna just have people that, for them to yes me and smile in my face all day. You know what I mean? When they may not necessarily really care for me or really love me genuinely, but just down for the ride. You know what I mean?
mm,
So you got to be okay with being alone. So I've battled a few things. One thing about music and success, and I think in any career, there's moments when you're on fire, and everybody's calling, um, and the records are going out, you know what I mean, and you're on tour, and you're booked, and all of the shows is happening, and you're flying all around the world, and that deposit is hitting your account every other week or every week. It's an amazing feeling,
mm,
right? But what about when it's not? When you cool off? And it has nothing to do with your talent, but I just feel like everybody has their turn. Everybody has seasons.
mm,
Um, and depending on how you carry yourself when it's not your turn and how hard you work, when it's your turn and when it's not your turn, to determine whether you'll have another shot, another
mm,
chance.
mm,
Because people, I don't believe in you having one moment or one, period of success. Like, when you look at Jay-Z, when you look at Beyonce, when we can name LeBron James, you know what I'm saying? Like,
mm,
you know, people have the success again. Now he won a few rings. Jordan, like, you know what I'm saying?
mm,
It's like, okay, he won this ring. All right, that's it. That's all the success you're gonna have in life. Somebody else's turn. Nah,
mm,
bruh. If you work hard and you shoot in that gym,
mm,
and you apply yourself and you don't allow that ring to allow you to feel comfortable and you work even harder, now you can go get that ring again.
mm,
So I think that's something very important that I want to mention and talk on, because in those moments when you're not the one, when those phone calls are ringing, when you're second guessing yourself and you're second guessing your ability and whether you still have it or not. I turned 40 years old and was freaking out about it because I'm like, I did a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff that I haven't done. Am I done?
mm,
Am I done? Am I finished? Is it too late? Is it too late to go? And I'm just telling I'm always gonna be real, King. Is it too late to be able to go get the mansion I always wanted? Is it
mm,
too late, to be worry free financially?
mm,
Like to be able to just not so much for materialistic things, but just to be free to do what I want.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? Okay, we want to go away this weekend. Let's go away this weekend. Not okay. We want to go away this weekend. Let's see what we have. Is that bill paid, or are we good on that? Is the lights, like the cell phone, everything? No, I want to be able to just do me. I just
mm,
want to be free to just do me, right? And I've had those moments in life, right, where finances was an issue, but you just to be transparent, like, and everyone deals with it.
Mhm.
Care what song you got out. I don't care what video you got out. I don't care where you at on the charts. I don't care how many plaques you got hanging on the wall. There's moments where the phone stops ringing. There's moments where the emails don't come in. There's moments where the checks are not coming in and being deposited. And in those moments, you have to remain prayerful.
Mm.
In those moments, you shed tears, wondering whether you still got it. Eventually, you got to wipe those tears away and says, "Yes, listen, I do got it. I'm a child of God, and
Mm.
as long as hustle and do what I need to do and do right by people." And continue to work on building my craft and not getting comfortable, no, I can come back again.
Mm.
You know,
Mm. Oof. I always like letting that breathe, man. Let what you said breathe, letting that track breathe a bit, because I think there is something to be said about just the reality of life. And
hmm
even in knowing God, there will be troubles.
yes,
That's
sir.
signed up. But to the fact that you still have a place to go and there's still hope as long as you have breath, that is something to
Right.
be said, especially in view of, I think us seeing seemingly instantaneous success, social media and the like, and thinking all the glitz and glam, but not behind the
Sir.
storefront door. Man, I love where you're at around this, because I've been observing, man. I love content, man. I love
Mm.
movies. I love music. Growing up, and appreciating, musicians, like as a violinist and all those things. But I sometimes I'm sensing that God has something to do with what's happening in the businesses of content these days. Meaning,
Mm.
there's been a concern I've seen over history that the creators have struggled to be the ones to enjoy the greatest benefit from their creation.
That
And
is true.
God is the one who has placed us and created us, and He wants to enjoy us. He wants to be pleased. And there's something happening where, from a systematic racist standpoint, that why are all our greatest creators leaving here with nothing?
Mm.
And
Mm.
so I wonder, have you seen, because of just where you are in the process, whether you're from the producer, from the publishing, from this stuff, how have you
Right.
viewed that, even from a divine standpoint of like something ain't godly about this? Like, how have you viewed what's happening in the business and the new models that are coming up, and your responsibility sometimes when you're like, I can even get more off this, and not like, what has been your tension over the years of just saying, I kind of need this because it's great for me to get this advance and rock with this, but this is not right. And da, da, da. How did you navigate the business model from a divine spiritual standpoint, bro?
Right. It's tough, man, and it's crazy that you asked. 'Cause I'm actually in the midst of something now,
Mm,
a deal now where it's a little different from what I'm used to.
mm,
Um, and it's like 10 years ago, would I move forward with this?
mm,
And the answer probably would be no.
mhm,
15 years ago, 20 years ago, you know what I mean? But it's like you kind of have to uh like really weigh it out versus just knowing it and just saying no and like nah, I'm not, because we're in a different time.
mm,
Um and right now to me everything everywhere is oversaturated because of the accessibility that people have to it.
mm,
I started producing over 20 years ago. It wasn't cool to do. Like it wasn't the thing people were like, fighting over trying to become a producer. Like it wasn't the thing to do. Why? Because you had to really truly, and even artists, you have to really truly invest in yourself.
mm,
A beat machine, the MPC 2000 XL, which I still have to this
mm,
day, cost $1,300, right?
mm.
And came with no sounds. Versus today, Fruity Loops, Logic, Pro Tools, FL Studio, all little different DAWs that's out today that's saying, hey, spend $500 and it's going to come with 5,000 sounds. You're welcome. You know what I'm saying? So, of course, if I'm handing it to you, you're going to be able to make it happen if you have the sounds and you have what it takes to make something happen with. But when you have nothing, and you have to turn nothing into something, it's different. Everybody ain't chasing to do that.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? So that's something that I've noticed, and that I've felt throughout the years in regards to music and business and technology as a whole, for not just in music but for the world,
Mm.
where it's like it's so accessible for everything and everybody, anybody and everybody can do it. So you have to kind of fight through the people that don't really love it,
Mm.
you know, in order to get through the chaos and in order to get through the noise.
Mm.
The sad part is there's somebody that don't love it, but that figured it out and figure out the science to it. That's absolutely really successful with it today. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying?
Mhm.
That can be sitting a little better than me based off of them being tapped in technology wise or being tapped in from a business sense. That's like, oh, okay, I don't really love this, but I see what he and they did over there, and I see where they went wrong. They just needed to do this
Mm.
and that. So I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna do everything that they didn't do, and I'm gonna win with that.
Mm.
So it's an ongoing battle, especially mentally and spiritually, when you have to face that and you have to deal with that reality. So it gets disappointing, it gets discouraging at times,
Mm.
because and that's when the self doubt comes in, and that's when you question yourself and you say, God, like, what are we doing here? Like, you know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Like, what are we doing here? So it's definitely an ongoing battle, man. But I'm always able to reel it back in, and to get on the right path and to regain focusness, and continue to push.
Mm. Yeah, there's a bar. There are bars in there, Brian. There are a lot of bars in there around this. The reality of kind of how do you navigate? What are the push? What are the pull moments? When's the I have to
Hmm.
accept? When are the, you know? But it leads me because I think when people think of creatives, that's a big tent, to be clear, and
Hmm.
specifically you. And the it's kind of like you kill what you eat, right?
Mm,
Element of just for such a long time. I'm wondering just what is your rhythm with God to sustain your output, and not
mm,
just producing, just meaning as a creative, what does that look like? Because on some sense, one of the things I've just even just on just first conversation and just reading is just like there's an emotional health that I appreciate that's refreshing. And some people could argue that your music is an outlet. To your point, if I'm upset, I could put it in the music. I could be comfortable
right,
and own my how I feel and put it in the
right.
music. And so that's a healthy thing that not many brothers in particular don't have that. But then
That's
beyond
true.
that, how do you plug in? What is your rhythm with God to allow you to be the healthiest you can be and still produce and not just kind of be in a ball somewhere, bro?
Right. Great question. And I think that prior to the pandemic, I think the amount of moving around I do helps.
Mm.
Um, when you think about like being still, right, and like think about the pandemic, and this is, I'm sure everyone can relate to this, where it's like we're being told to stay home, we're being told to stay inside, we're being told to wear a mask, and just going back to when the first thing hit, and you really couldn't go nowhere, and it was like lockdown, like that was probably one of the worst feelings in the world.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because my life is being on the go. It's very rare for me to sit down, like just sit down somewhere. Like, go have a seat. When you get in trouble by the parent,
Mm.
go
Mm.
sit down somewhere. Like, it's very rare for me to just sit down somewhere.
Mm.
So I'm prior to the pandemic in the studio, teaching schools, giving back to my community every weekend, Vegas, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, playing in the club, on the road with Trey songs. You know what I'm saying? Being a father, family man, you know what I mean? Like moving around, like balance, personal life, like always on the go, always moving a million miles an hour. So it's like you don't even have time to really hold on or to grasp the negative energy.
Mm.
Or, because you're moving so much, it's like, oh, yeah, that's going to bounce over me because I was right. Just a second ago, I was there. Now I'm over here. And mentally, I don't have time to dwell on anything because everything is moving at fast pace, and I'm moving so much that I'm cool. I'm cool. But when you have something like the pandemic hit,
Mm.
and you say, "No, Amadeus, you're not going to Vegas on the weekends anymore. Have a seat. No, Amadeus, you're not going to go on this tour and this show every other weekend or every during the week or for a month and a half with Trey on the bus on a tour, on a tour bus in a different city overnight. You, have a seat. No, you're not going to go speak and educate the students in the colleges and go to networking events and go do red carpets and photo shoots and have a seat. And you're like, so anything, and I'm so glad you asked this question because I know this is very, very powerful and it's going to be a blessing to somebody. So now you're having a seat. You're not moving around. Your phone ain't ringing all crazy. You ain't pushing the suitcase, in the car heading to the airport. You ain't in the sky lounge. You're not in the club playing drums. None of that. You're just having a seat. And while doing so, everything hits you. Because where are the distractions? There aren't any. It's just you, yourself, and your reality. It's you, yourself, and your worry. You, yourself, and your concerns. You, yourself, and your financial struggles. You and yourself and your family. You know what I mean? And thank God this doesn't fit me. But what about the person that has to have a seat in the house with someone that they no longer love? Or that child that just disrespects them. And guess what? Due to the pandemic, we're stuck in this house for a year with just us. Is there enough love in the room for us to survive? You understand? So that be still thing, man, it's a battle. And I'm okay enough to say 2020, and I've been through some stuff. I've overcome a lot. I've overcome divorce. I've overcome letting go what I considered to be my home. That I would have a family in forever. Death do us part. Went through a divorce, gave that up. No longer living under the same roof with my son. Never imagined that, happening. Like, just I've overcome some stuff. Losing loved ones, losing my pastor, my bishop, that opened up that door for me in church. That before I even was a musician, let me be a musician. Who helped raise me, who helped mold me into the man and the king and the musician and the producer that I am today. She passed away last year. you know uh so many questions, why, God? Like, there's people that ain't it's not there's people that's living their best lives that don't even acknowledge you. I see them every day. I'm not judging, I'm just telling you what I see, King. I see them every day. I'm next to them every day. They're acknowledging, and their gods is the weed, their god is those pills, their god is having 10 women a week, their god is all of the materialistic things. So you take the woman of God, that's sharing your light on the world. How? Through cancer, through a disease where she had to suffer on her way out. So, man, like, last year was one of the most difficult years in my entire life, um, for a million reasons. And when 2021 hit, when that when the ball dropped, if they would say, when the clock struck, I stood up. I was a little intoxicated, in our home. I didn't go out anywhere, and I said to myself, 2021 is here. Is everything all right? No. Are the bill collectors still calling? Yes. Are they threatening you to take stuff? Yes. Musically, is your phone ringing? No. Are you going on tour? No. Are you going back to Vegas right now? No. Can you go teach your college courses? No. All of those different things. Can your bishop and pastor come back? No. Can your aunt come back? No. So all of those things that have been challenged with, right? But through all of that, I want to decide that 2021 will not be like 2020. I'm going to decide that right now. Um, I cried so much in 2020 that I asked, yo, is there any more tears left? Like, can a human being have, do I have any tears left to flow out of my body? Like, for real. And as I sit here and have this conversation, you know, I feel great. I don't, it's not hindering me. It's not pulling on my spirit. And we're in March. And I just said this to my queen today. I said, I haven't cried at all this year.
Mm.
And that might be something real regular to somebody. That might not mean anything to someone else, King. But to me, that's a big deal.
Mm.
That's a big deal because every day I woke up last year, I didn't know what I was going to get. I didn't know what that day would bring me. How many times am I going to cry today? How many times am I going to feel disappointed and defeated today? And I know this is God talking because I looked at these things on the wall with those same tears. I can't put that on the table and feed that to my kids. The bill collectors that's calling, that's rent's due, the car payment is due, the insurance. I can't say, hey, take this right here, take that and let it pay for it. That can't save me. That can't save my family. That can't save what I'm going through mentally. So it was a lot, man. It was a lot, but God, but God. And it's a great thing when you can be real and open and honest and transparent and share your truth with God, as hurtful as it may be to him, but it's only the truth because I'm only human. And him not turn his back on you
Mm.
like man does when you share your truth and you share your emotions and you share your disappointments and you share, you know, the letdown. Men will be like, oh, I ain't messing with Amadeus no more. I ain't calling Amadeus back no more. I'm not standing by him no more. I'm not gonna back him. I'm not gonna support him anymore. You heard what he said to me? But God is not one to do that. He understands, you know. So I just, wanted to share that, and I'm grateful for this conversation and grateful for you just allowing, God to flow through us because I know I kind of go off, on little, but I felt it was something that people need to hear. They don't talk about, you know, the bad stuff. And I don't even like the way it is, but it is what it is. They don't talk about the challenges, the lonely nights, the nights where you cry yourself to sleep. You know what I'm saying? With the plaques on the wall, with the accolades, with the awards, with the likes on Instagram, with the comments. Oh, the king, the king. I'm coming off IG lives. I'm on IG live, real live and vibrant and coming off, and I'm in the corner somewhere like this. You know, but God. But God, man. And I get up every day excited. I get up every day motivated. A lot of what I was challenged with in 2020, I'm still challenged with, but I do see light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm. Mm.
I do see light at the end of the tunnel, and that's what keeps me focused. That's what keeps me creative. That's what keeps me having these conversations and my posts and the emails, going out and me introducing myself to artists and me and speaking to the kids at schools, you know what I mean? And doing it for free sometimes, just saying, okay, well, I'm just, going to be a blessing. And, when it comes back around, it comes back around. But the fact that I'm healthy, the fact that I can, that I just ate lunch, that these lights is on, you got to look at those things that you kind of bypass every day as a blessing and hold on to that while you wait for the other things to manifest.
Mm. Bruh, man, this, but God, but
But
God,
God,
and coming to the end of yourself, your life, and recognizing, but God is like that. There's that word that talks about it's like we don't suffer like those in the world who have no hope. And so
mm,
that light at the end of the tunnel is something that I think is gonna that's gonna sit with a number of people, man, to
yes, sir.
recognize that it's the on the outside and it looks this, but the humanity of me I can't escape.
Right,
There's no one in this world who could fully take in, even those who may love me, can't fully take
right,
in and absorb what I'm saying because they're not
yes,
me
sir.
in all of this. And I think that gives people, number one, even in the quote unquote darkest moments, there is light that's beyond the world that can't give me everything that I need right now. And number two,
Correct.
it's the view of I could still live and count the days. I can count today. And bro, that's
Mm,
that man is that's powerful. And I think it also just so, I'll say this much, bro, as we're near the tail end, but I think sometimes I've heard voices, and I know you definitely know this, where you're like, this is not from this world. This
mm,
voice, when I used to hear Whitney, bro, Newark, New Jersey. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And from this beyond the Star Spangled Banner, there's something would happen to me where I
Right.
said, how did that you don't train that Doshi's train. You don't train
Right.
that. That's from world. I think when people hear you speaking to this and then they connect the rhythms of the things you produce, you're beyond that. You're human.
Mm.
But the things that we find beautiful are the joys and the tears that you sow into all that you do.
Right.
And so I just want I think their brothers and sisters are gonna hear this in one have hope. Most importantly, number
Hmm.
two, people are gonna recognize that nothing's wasted. That the reason why
Right.
that you could tune in and the things that you create and the way that you show up so nice and humble, the ways that you give to people is because of the full measure of the things that you absorb and live. And so, bro,
Wow.
man, I like this. There's so much respect that I have in that, but I just know that that won't go back void. That won't go back void at all, brother. Brother,
Amen.
I think my question would be this, man. Now as we on the move forward, understanding where we are in 2021, you know, what is your vision for the future? And in terms of just saying, like, I, what here's what's in my hand. Here's the vision that God's placed on me. Here's what I'm looking to
Right.
do. What are you looking to do, and how
Right.
can we support you in that?
Music is amazing. Music to me is what paved the way for me to be where I'm at today.
Mm,
Music, it's what set me up, and I felt like, my calling on life is music, but it's bigger than music.
mm,
I felt like music was the channel I needed to get on in order for me to make the impact that I needed to make in the world. Um, and when I think back to me being a child and deciding to want to become a record producer and a musician and toward the secular world, you know, they frowned upon that. It was definitely a battle. Why would you go out there and play that music? You're supposed to be in God's house. And I would always rebel in that sense, and I would always say, nah, I don't feel like I'm supposed to just be here, because there's people that will never step foot in God's house
mm,
for many reasons.
mm,
You know what I mean? Whether it's their upbringing, whether it's them being from the hood, whether it's the street smarts, whatever it is that will never come into God's house. So do we leave those people, you know, untouched, uneducated, without information, without the word? Nah, bro. I'm gonna go to them. I'm going to speak in the lives of Chris Brown. I'm going to speak in the lives of, Puff Daddy. I'm going to speak into the life of Trey Songz. I'm going to speak into the life of these, the OBJ. Like, you know what I mean? The people that do know God and do have God, but may not have the relationship that people expect people to have. You know what I mean? Like, people had me feeling like, yo, if you don't go to church, you're of the devil.
mm,
like if you ain't in God's house, you're one of them. And it's like, nah, bro, God is everywhere.
mm,
Because when I got on the road and touring, I couldn't be in church. I was out on the road, so I had to take what I was taught and put that to use in real life, in reality.
mm, mm,
Like, you know what I mean? The sermons I heard, on a day to day basis, every Sunday, like I had to. There's moments when I had to really apply that, because it was life and death while I was on tour.
mm,
But I had to really tap into what I was taught in life spiritually and really put that to use, or I would die. You understand? So, you know, I just know that I needed to do this in order to get the attention of the people. If that makes sense,
mm,
especially the youth, especially the kids. What gets their attention is because they consider me be cool, because I'm cool with Chris Brown. I'm cool with 50 Cent. I'm cool with, you know what I'm saying? All of these amazing artists that they look up to, that they adore, that they admire. So that the fact that these are my colleagues and people that I work alongside with, I have their attention. So it's like, now that I have your attention, let me give you this real rap. Like, let me let you know who Amadeus is. Amadeus is a God fearing man. Amadeus is nothing without God. God gave me each and every single gift that I possess today,
mm,
and he gave you gifts that you possess, but it's about you tapping into your gifts and doing the right thing with it.
mm,
What are your gifts? You love? What are you motivated by? That's my calling. So the music is cool, but one thing about music and entertainment, right? And I said this earlier, everybody has their moment. Everybody has their time when they're on fire, you know where every record you release is just number one. thousands of, platinum and gold, and you win an Emmy award. And then, you start to cool off. That's just like, when you cook, when they first bring you your dinner, bring you your dinner, you see the smoke. Sit there for 5 minutes. It's not going to be at the same temperature that when they first brought it out. Sit there for 10 minutes. Have a conversation. Me and Lawrence go on. Let's have a conversation. We're talking over dinner. We talking about football. We're talking about sports, music. Next thing we know, the dinner has sat there for 30 minutes. I guarantee you, it's not the same temperature as it was 30 minutes ago. You might not even be able to eat it now. And you might force yourself to eat it because you're like, well, I'm still going to have to pay for this, so I might as well just eat it, or I might as well just pack it up and bring it home so I can reheat it and heat it up again. Now I'm going to eat it one time. So the point I'm making is, you hot and then you cool off. And then when you cool off, sometimes next, now it's time for the next big thing. You cooled off now, next, that's music, that's entertainment, right? But when I'm a blessing to you, when I speak life into you, when I motivate you, inspire you to chase your dreams and to become all that God intended you to be, there's no record, there's no song, there's no album, there's no corporation that can remove that thought from out of your mind. You're going to always that conversation. You're going to always remember that moment, whether you listen to this interview, whether, you've been blessed to be in our, space and have a conversation with us that's motivating to you. You're going to forever remember us. And you're going to say 10 years down the line, 5 years, 3 years down the line, man, Amadeus said something, and it resonated with me and I went after it. So, now I'm the president of Def Jam, or I just got signed to the NFL last week, or, I have my own network now, you know what I mean? Or I just signed $1 million deal for this based off of, a conversation that we're having right now. That'll live on forever. You know what I mean? Songs and music lives on forever, man, but it's always going to be a new song. There's always going to be a new person. There's always going to be a new gift, always going to be a new talent. But not everybody is speaking into others' lives. Not everybody is pouring into others. Not everybody is pushing people into their dreams and into their destiny. So when you ask me what's next for Amadeus or what I'm after, that's what I'm after. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm motivating to do. You know what I mean? Yes, I want to make music. Yes, I want to get back to touring. All that's cool. But my number one thing now and where I'm at in life as a 40-year-old black king is to continue to inspire and continue to pour into, to continue to push people to believe in themselves and their God-given gifts and talents, and to just bring their dreams from a dream to their reality. That's where I'm at.
Brother, I couldn't close that. That's all God. Any better than what you just did. I'm not even going to put anything else on it. Brother, man, how do people find you on the internet? How do people look you up and connect with you and follow you, bro?
Yes, my number one social media platform is Instagram. I'm on there the most. And my Instagram is Amadeus, Amadeus PBM. Say that again. It's, on Instagram, it's Amadeus, 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 Amadeus PBM. On Twitter, it's producer Amadeus, spelled producer the regular way and Amadeus the way I just spelled it. I'm on Facebook as well, but I'm absolutely the worst on Facebook. Like,
yo, you ain't the only one, fam. Don't worry about it.
Man. Hey, King, I got to challenge it. We got to get better because I'm hearing that Facebook can be extremely beneficial. If we really do it the right way. So hopefully, I'll get the upper hand on that, and I'll forward the information to you so we can become better in that area. But that's definitely the best way, to reach me. I do check all of my DMs. Believe it or not, I'm not that person that's too big or too grand or better than anyone. Nah, because I feel like, there's all kind of opportunities you can be missing out on when you ignore, people trying to reach out to you. So I'm always one to check all my DMs, man. So that's how I can be reached. Again, this conversation was epic. I enjoyed every bit of it, and sometimes I don't think people realize this, right? But sometimes talking about something, is a part of the healing process as well. You know what I mean? We converse and we talk about things. We have this conversation in order to, be a blessing to others and to inspire others and empower others. But as you talk about it, I feel like internally, you're healing yourself at the same time.
Mm.
You're speaking it, and you're kind of hearing it. You're focused on what you're saying, so you're maybe not really digesting it in that moment. But the fact that you're putting what you're putting out into the atmosphere and in the universe and in the realm, I feel like it allows God to do His work within, as you have these type of conversations and tell your truth and share your transparency, in order to help others. I feel like you're helping, yourself as well. So I applaud you on for you having um, a very spiritual and comfortable environment, um, for one to be able to tap into this space and to be able to speak freely, and it not feel of a burden and it not be overwhelming. Like I feel safe. I felt safe throughout this whole conversation to be able to share what I needed to share without any worry, or without any pain or any suffering. So, God is using you, my brother, and He's working through you, in that area. So continue to be fearless, continue to be the man that you are, and continue to do what you're doing. Because this, like I said, as much as a blessing that I know that it will be to others, it's definitely a blessing to me as well. And once this is up and out there, I owe myself, um, for me to sit back and watch this. And instead of it just letting it be a conversation that blesses others, I want it to be a conversation that that blesses me as well. Like for me to sit back and just hear what we talked about and just listen to it, with an open heart. You know what I mean? An open mind and soul to be able to hear what I said and take it back in and receive it within. You know what I mean?
Mm. Brother, I thank God for you, man. King, I'm grateful that the King of King reigns in you and the King of King reigns
Amen.
through you. We praise
To
God
you
for
as
that.
well, my brother.
Love you, bro. All respect to you, good
Love
brother,
you too,
man.
King.
Man.
Blessings, my brother. Thank you.
Onward. All right.